Welcome to Black Nouveau. This is our edition for March 29, 2017. I'm Joanne Williams. This week we'll preview a new documentary about the Warning Basketball League. It was started in Milwaukee in 1974. We'll meet Milwaukee's first Black Panther Party member, and I'll take you to the A. Philip Randolph Pullman Porter Museum in Chicago. Now, about your health. Sickle cell anemia, often called sickle cell disease, is a condition of the red blood cells. Normal cells are shaped like discs, which let them move easily through blood vessels. In sickle cell anemia, however, the red blood cells have a crescent or sickle shape. This makes them sticky and rigid and can cause pain and tissue damage. Liddy Collins has more on sickle cell disease.
There isn't a typical crisis. It can range anywhere from being very fatigued, so fatigued that you can't get out of bed.
I was not feeling well all the time, and it really started to play a role in my grades, and I had a lot of chronic fatigue, a lot of pain.
These people are living with sickle cell disease. It's an inherited blood disease that can affect every organ in the body.
People with sickle cell disease have problems with pain, and that's when not enough blood flow is actually getting to the bones, and they also have problems with their organs. So there's a high incidence of stroke, there's problems with the lungs, there's problems with the kidney, there's problems with the heart. Nearly every organ system is affected.
They take a lot of pain medicine, narcotic pain medicine. They have side effects within themselves. So not only are you dealing with the disease, now you're dealing with the side effects of all the treatment, but anything that people think as far as even having a social life or grocery shopping or doing my laundry or cleaning my house, things that you say is normal are difficult. But when you look at me, you're not really seeing like, oh, she has a handicap, so to speak, or a difficult life, but because you're kind of in pain and you just kind of learn to live with it. And I don't do too much complaining myself, but it's quite difficult.
Probably the biggest impact around the stigma for sickle cell is that people, it's an invisible disability that people don't recognize. So they look at me, especially if I'm in a crisis, and they think, oh, you look fine. There's nothing wrong with you. And that has gone anywhere from friends and family, people who've known me my entire life, to even people who, when I come in contact with medical professionals who are not familiar with sickle cell disease. And, they have, I've heard it more from other friends, but it's happened to me on occasion where we don't see anything wrong, or they'll just send you home with an aspirin and say that, they're not having much of a problem here.
The major barrier is people who do not see the pain, and it's difficult to treat. But there are treatments, blood transfusions, and one that has been used to prevent pain and even potentially improve survival.
Hydroxyurea is one therapy that we've had, but if you take that therapy, which has been around since the hydroxyurea has been around for many, many decades, but for sickle cell disease, it's been FDA approved since 1998.
When it comes to sickle cell disease, because it's an ailment that affects mostly African American and people of African heritage, it doesn't get a lot of attention in terms of research.
Recently, there have been a lot of research for this complex disease and a lot of new therapies in the pipeline.
There also have been new trials that are either being started or planned on being started in doing different forms of bone marrow transplant. So that's very exciting. And then there are even trials that are going on concerning gene therapy, where you're actually trying to fix the genetic defect in patients with sickle cell disease.
People are dying from sickle cell because of misinformation between patient and provider. Now there is a clinic in Milwaukee, the Frater Adult Sickle Cell Clinic, that have dedicated providers that understand people living with sickle cell.
Our patients they feel comfortable coming here. They know that we understand and know their illness. We care for them, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally.
They are also trying to make the community more aware of how many people are suffering from this disease and how you get it. Like AIDS, you must know your status.
The biggest concern that I have is about passing along the sickle cell trait.
Sickle cell trait is when you're a carrier of the sickle cell gene. So you yourself may have no symptoms at all and do have no symptoms at all. But the important thing is if you have sickle cell trait and your partner has sickle cell trait, you're going to have a 1 in 4 chance of having a child with sickle cell disease. That's critical because I think a lot of individuals do not know, and I think this is in large part the fault of the medical community for not educating people appropriately, that they have sickle cell trait. So this is something, if you're a person of African American descent, you don't know whether you have sickle cell trait. Finding that out and finding out what the trait status of your partner, it's a simple blood test, is really important because most of our patients who have sickle cell disease, their parents did not have disease. Their parents were completely asymptomatic and their parents were carriers with trait.
And I wouldn't wish this struggle or this pain on anyone.
There's never going to be a time where I think, especially at my age and with the type and severity of my sickle cell, there's not going to be a perfect day, and you just kind of learn to live with it.
In 1974, Alderman Michael McGee Sr. started the Warning Basketball League. He wanted to help less fortunate kids stay off the streets and aim for college careers. It's now the nation's 3rd longest running amateur basketball league. It's produced hundreds of college and professional basketball players and successful men and women. On April 6th, the landmark Oriental Theater will hold a screening of Warning, the basketball documentary. Here's a preview.
And a lot of times here, you didn't have to be in the NBA to be known. Like if you were known like from the Warning League, like, hey, that'll get you in some places around the city and you know what I'm saying? Like you were the man.
I played Warning. I'm Terry Porter, University of Portland men's basketball coach.
Warning was running that long. I know I've been playing, I'm 20 years old, so I've been playing it for like the last 10 years.
I played Warning because Warning was my life. I live to play Warning. I love Warning. Warning is in me.
Mike Wilkes, former NBA player, former NBA champion. I played Warning basketball because it was a way of life growing up. It was a thing to do. All the guys I looked up to and idolized, they played, so I was just following in guys' footsteps.
Man, I played Warning because of the people. I played because of the atmosphere. I played because of the environment. I played because it was like the Milwaukee Rucker Park.
Warning started in '75, and there was only two other leagues that was in existence before. I think it's the Drew League and Rucker, if I'm correct, LA and New York. So Milwaukee being in the middle is an awesome thing, just showing that we got a lot of talent, a lot of people that made it to the league even in Milwaukee.
When I hear people talk about Rutgers Park, New York, back in the day, and I always say, if they would have came to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the early 80s and came to them playgrounds on Warning, they would have seen Rutgers Park, I promise you. And I'm not saying, we was better in New York, but we was just like them.
Victor Barnett, founder and CEO of the Running Rebels community organization, joins us today to talk basketball. Welcome.
Thank you.
Have you seen the movie?
Yes, I have.
What do you think of it?
I'm very excited to be a part of something that is so special and brings so many years of brotherhood and bonding through basketball.
1974, that's a lot of years ago.
42 years, yes.
42 years, yes. Wow. Did you play in these leagues?
No, I didn't play. I coached way back in 1980-something, maybe 84. When I was really getting started with the organization. So I was a coach for many years, and after success a little bit on the court, I was able to get a job actually helping to run the league. So I've had different capacities that I've been involved in, and so just excited and honored to be a part of something that is so special and has saved so many lives in our city.
Where was this basketball played? What playgrounds, what parks, what courts?
Yeah, the history back in the day, we used to play at different parks. You would go from Green Bay to Columbia and just travel around. Now the games are held at Lincoln Park, Moe Park rather. It was Lincoln at that time, but now it's Moe Park on Green Bay Avenue.
I've seen them playing there for years and years, and I'm sure lots of folks have seen kids with the T-shirts that say Warning on them. and probably wondered what that meant. Why was it called Warning?
It was started as a league to raise attention and awareness to our young people and keeping them away from some of the violence way back 42 years. And now, as you'll see in the documentary, there's a lot of gentlemen that state how important it was in their lives to give them something positive to do twice a week, 2 hours. They were on that court, and when they weren't playing, they were spectators to see the other people. So it was very instrumental in the success of a lot of ball players that went on to college and pros, but even some of our politicians and successful businessmen definitely owe a lot of honor to Warning League.
Are there any names you can call that played?
Yeah, there's some politicians. Alderman Willie Wade was one that really worked hard to keep it going. Mike McGee Jr. was an alderman that kept it going and did a lot for the league. And some of the ball players. I mean, we have professional ball players. Kevon Looney plays for the Golden State Warriors, played in it. Terry Porter, who went on and coached the Bucks and did some great things. So Brandon Joseph, one of the players that just won the state championship with Destiny High School, played Warning when he was 7 years old. So the history goes way back for Warning, and it's just a special thing in our community. So we're hoping to get the community to rally behind it, come out and see the movie and see some of the great, exciting basketball, but just some of the storylines that go with it.
When I come to see the movie, I'll recognize a lot of locations, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be different parks around the area. And then just, like I said, some of the people that's talking, you know, and you can just tell in their conversation of how special this league was for them when they were a kid. And to see a lot of them now being teachers and went on and had successful professional careers, Warning is a very special thing in our city, and we're definitely hoping to get everybody to rally around it.
It's still going on. Yes?
Yes, yes. We have the great history of Warning, but then we also have the present. Right now, the league is still continuing. We are working with politicians and with just community leaders, because Warning has always been something that's of our community. So there's guys that have bonded and formed brotherhoods where they went on and were in each other's weddings and things. One of the things that touched me the most is when someone passed that was a ball player in Warning, and you just see the players that come and support at the family at the funeral and different things like that. So it's just built such a brotherhood, and there's people now when you say Warning, they're going to turn their head and pay attention.
How does somebody get involved in it? How do the young men who play join this league?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a league that's continuing to be funded by the city of Milwaukee, and in June we start getting things ready. So late June, get ready to play, and it goes until August. But just Running Rebels will be involved in assisting with the league again. So 414-264-8222 for anyone interested in, you know, getting an early start and wanting to sign up. One of the things that we wanted to stay true to the history, so a lot of the teams are actually based upon some of the parks that were a part of Warning 42 years ago, and we try to go back to that neighborhood feel.
Give us the phone number again, please.
Mm-hmm. Running Rebels Organization, 414-264-8222 for any questions related to the Warning Basketball League.
Oh, and always, there are girls that can play too.
Yes, we had a girls league that participated last year, and we're looking forward to expanding and trying to do more with the girls. So anyone out there want to assist with the girls basketball growing in regards to Warning, please give us a call.
All right, thank you very much, Victor.
Thank you.
Warning, the basketball documentary. It'll be screened on Thursday, April 6th at 7:30 p.m. at the Landmark Oriental Theater. Tickets are available through Eventbrite.
The Second Amendment guarantees the citizen a right to bear arms on public property.
We're going to carry our guns, and we're going to follow the police. We're going to maintain a legal distance, ready to throw down if necessary.
We think of the Black Panther Party as this ultra-radical organization, and they definitely had an element of that when you're picking up the gun and talking about offing the pig. That's very radical. However, when you spend the vast majority of your energies on Breakfast for Children programs, on busing the prison programs, on a free medical clinic, well, how revolutionary are you? Or are you just a community service organization that, yes, we picked up the gun because we want to defend ourselves, because that's also a community service.
Historian Andrew Witt details the Milwaukee Black Panther Party and the Black Panthers in the Midwest. It's a history that Walter Chesser, who owns Milltown Apparel and Printing, helped to create. In the fall of 1968, he and two friends talked about creating a Black Panther Party in Milwaukee. Chesser called the main headquarters in Oakland and Bobby Seale invited him to visit.
Stayed there for a couple of weeks, got exposed firsthand to the things that they were doing, the free breakfast program for children. They were actually doing some tutoring and still doing their nightly patrols in the neighborhood. And so I participated in all of those activities. And after a couple of weeks, Bobby stated, well, you see what we're doing here, and asked if that was something that I was committed to doing, and I said that I was, and he authorized me to charter a Black Panther Party in Milwaukee. And so returned to Milwaukee the latter part of December and began to organize the Panther Party. We started the free breakfast program, and that was a big part of the initial activity because it was something concrete to do and to show people what we were doing. And so that was really the focus of the party for several months to get a successful free breakfast program for children. We started a study group. Many people were like myself who had no previous experience of doing any type of social activity, being involved in the struggle in any aspect. And so we started up a tutoring session to make people aware of what was going on, to actually raise our level of consciousness.
The FBI wanted to destroy the Panthers.
How about justice? Justice is incidental to law and order.
This was all-out attack on the Black Panther Party. Every significant office is going to be raided, bombed, shot, mass arrests.
Milwaukee's police chief, Harold Breyer, was no fan of the Black Panther Party either.
There is this long history of animus between the overwhelmingly white Milwaukee PD and the black community. And this manifested itself in many different ways, just in general harassment, in assaults on the black community by the police. But then there's of course throughout the historical record in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, so forth, there's murder of black people, out and out murder.
That racism that existed in the police department, I think, was fully tolerated. And it had, I think, a profound effect on at least on me. I never felt secure as a black man in Milwaukee as long as Chief Breyer was chief. And when he finally left the force, I actually felt at least a psychological burden being released because I just never felt that he had any good intentions towards the African American community.
You didn't stay in the party long. What happened?
Fred Hampton, who was actually, I believe, is the Deputy Defense Minister for the Panther Party in Chicago, and was also the regional authority for the Midwest, came to our location. At that time, I think we had moved from Atkinson over to a single-family property on North First Street. I'm not quite sure at this time. I can't remember exactly where it was, but came into the chapter at that time, at our location at that time. It stated that we were not a legitimate Panther Party. Accused me of being a counter-revolutionary, and within 5 minutes, I was put in house arrest. I was taken to the basement, and for 36 hours, I was held in the basement before I decided that I would escape that confinement. When I left my confinement, returned home, within a half an hour, I had gotten a call from the FBI. They were aware that I was being held and that I, in fact, had left, and had informed me that there was a contract to kill me, and that they wanted me to accept their protection and actually go back into the Panther Party and form for them. That essentially ended my participation in the Panther Party. It was a very strange situation, but as time went on, I began to understand that was really a part of the disinformation by the law enforcement in the city.
Before the end of 1969, Milwaukee's Black Panther Party had been eliminated, but Walter Chesser continued to work for his community.
Within a year's time after that, I actually started of the Black Masters Party, and we continued to do the kind of things that the Panther Party was doing. We started a free breakfast program, and we were very successful with that program, and so successful as the fact that the SDC, I think it was called the Social Development Commission at the time, asked for our participation in starting a free breakfast program for the city of Milwaukee, and subsequently that's what in fact happened.
In 1973, another Milwaukee chapter of the Black Panther Party came into existence. It lasted a couple of years, yet the legacy continues into today.
So frequently, we take the Black Panther Party and we say, oh, that was a completely out there organization. Well, no, they weren't. They fall in the long line of African Americans who have picked up the gun and defended themselves and defended their communities and provided for their communities.
All aboard! All aboard!
The story of the Pullman Porters is truly an all-American example of pride and prejudice.
Service over servitude is the goal. It's okay to be a regular working person. You can still be a superhero. You can still be a superstar by doing regular things. We want regular people to do extraordinary things.
The men who cooked and served on the trains, shined the shoes of the rich and famous who rode the trains, made the beds and cleaned the compartments for $68 a month, were proud of the quality of service they provided on the Pullman cars. But they were also extremely underpaid, disrespected by the management of the company, and often rudely treated by the passengers who called them all George. If you had a relative who worked on the railroads, like I do, you may know a little about the Union of the Porters, but most people don't know this chapter in American history. Lynn Hughes was one of them, until she bought 3 houses in the Pullman district of Chicago in 1994, strictly as a business investment. She took a guided tour of the neighborhood and learned about the buildings, about founder George Pullman, about the architecture, but nothing about the families who lived there while working for the Pullman Company.
I raised my hand and I asked the question, excuse me, can you tell me what role African Americans played in the Pullman story? And there was a hush that went over the room that was deafening, and I thought, oh my goodness, what did I do? What did I say? But because I didn't know, I didn't know. And so when he paused for a very long time, he came back, which to me seemed like an eternity. He responded by saying, well, I believe they worked on the trains. And so I thought he was going to say something else and go further, but he didn't. And
so to educate herself, she got library books on the Pullman Porters, and when she read this one, her life changed.
And it was called A Long, Hard Journey. I took the book and went home, sat down and read the book, and I found myself weeping out loud. The story was so well written. It was if the content of the story leapt from the pages and just pierced my heart. It occurred to me that none of that information that spoke about the struggle that they had trying to break into organized labor and being recognized into organized labor was given on the tour. And I heard myself saying, well, that's a shame.
Hughes decided that the story of A. Philip Randolph and the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters needed to be told and needed to be on display right here where it all started. So she turned this building, one of the row houses built by Pullman, into a museum.
I did not have the money. I did not have the technical expertise. I did not have the education in terms of museumology. But it was on my heart to do because in my opinion, they deserve the recognition. All of the African Americans who worked on the railroad, who created the foundation for the black middle class, that their story should be told and incorporated into the information that is given to people about Pullman.
She called around the country for advice from other museums on what to do and remodeled the building into a 2-story display of the history of the Brotherhood.
What drove you? Anger. Somebody saying to me that I didn't have credentials to do a museum. And what it said to me is that I did not have the right to honor the history and the legacy of these men.
A. Philip Randolph fought the Pullman Company for 12 years for the right to organize the porters into a union. Along the way, he negotiated with the American Federation of Labor, the AFL, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, and George Pullman. Many of the porters lost their jobs because they wanted to organize. They were beaten, they were bribed, but in the end, the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters was recognized, becoming the first black labor union in America. Lynn Hughes has put her heart and soul into the museum for almost 20 years, but it's time to look to the future, and she's passing the torch of leadership on to David Peterson, Jr.
It's a blessing and an honor.
Why is it an honor?
It's an honor because I feel that I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, and I have the opportunity to take forward a story that has not been told to the next generation.
Peterson grew up around the corner from the museum, but learned nothing about A. Philip Randolph or the Pullman porters in his school.
No, I hadn't studied about it at all. It just came about because, being a neighborhood kid, Dr. Hughes, we were all just interested in what it was she was doing over here, so she kind of just mothered the entire neighborhood.
On display is equipment used by the porters, keys to the overhead beds and compartments, lamps to see in the darkened cars, a uniform worn by a porter. There's also ample information about Randolph's leadership in organized labor and his critical role in the 1963 March on Washington, which was aimed at securing jobs and freedom for all Americans.
Is our fervent plea for strong voices to be raised from all areas of our society, out of varying traditions and interests, to arouse the conscience of our land in order to achieve, in fact, that which has already been won in law and what always has been in the hearts of good men: equality, justice, freedom, and human dignity for all men, regardless of color or country.
But they were men of respect, honor, and dignity, and they maintained their integrity while doing so, even while being disrespected.
For more information about the A. Philip Randolph Museum, go to www.aphiליprandolphmuseum.com. Before we close tonight, a reminder that next Tuesday, April 4th, is Election Day. Every vote counts. Please remember to make your voice heard and go out and vote. And that's our show for this week. For Black Nouveau, I'm Joanne Williams. Thanks for watching.